friends, I'm Sam, and welcome back to another bookish video. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my 2024 reading stats using my reading log. So come along as I go over the stats. Just a simple month-by-month breakdown. I read 11 books in January with 3,777 pages. In February, I read 13 books with a total of 4,144 pages. In March, I read 15 books with a total of 5,208 pages. In April, I read 14 books with 5,217 pages. May was 20 books with 4,591 pages. June was 11 books with 2,902 pages. July was 9 books with 3,566 pages. August was 11 books with 3,457 pages. September was 10 books with 2,679 pages. October was 10 books with 3,150 pages. November was 9 books with 2,758 pages. And December is 10 books with 3,077 pages, for a total of 143 books and 44,526 pages read in the year 2024. So not bad. My personal reading goal is 104 books a year, like as a base minimum. I surpassed that. That's great. If I do 120, that's like my pat on the back, great job goal. And I did more than that. So yeah, I'm very happy with this year's book count. And considering that I read less audiobooks, we'll get into that, I'm really pleased with how many books I read overall. So compared to last year, I read 184 books with 50,300 pages being read. A difference of over 40 books and 7,000 pages. And I attribute that, a lot of that was because I didn't read as many audiobooks this year. I decided to get back into podcasts, so that took that time away. Now let's go over the individual stats. I read 34 horror books, 43 thriller books, 14 nonfiction books, 6 contemporary fiction books, 10 historical fiction books, 13 fantasy books, 9 romance, 6 young adults, 3 juvenile, and 3 science fictions. Last year's genres. Last year I read 17 horror. I read about the same amount of thrillers. I read more nonfiction. I had a spurt at the beginning of the year where I was trying to read one nonfiction book, audiobook. Contemporary fiction is a new genre. I have it listed as literary fiction here, and again, it's about the same. Historical fiction is about the same. Romance, about the same. Young adult, I did read more young adult, or I may have just changed how I classify that, so I can't really say that. And science fiction is a new category. Juvenile, again, I think is how I changed my classification. Star ratings, I read 22 5-star books, 54 4-star books, 40 3-star books, 11 2-star books, 0 1-star books, and 16 unrated books. I had more 5 stars last year. I think that's because I got really stingy with my 5 stars this year. I had more 4 stars, or the number of books I read, it's about the same. Same for 3 stars. 2 stars are exactly the same. I had no 1 stars this year. That's good. Unrated. I had more unrated books. Authors. I had less new authors this year, which is to be expected. The more authors that you read, obviously they're not going to be new authors anymore. Previous authors. Also had less previous authors though, so odd. As far as the book format, I read more physical books this year, which I think a lot of that has to do with back in June when the girls went on vacation. I checked out a lot of books from the library, so I think a lot of that has to do with that. Audiobooks made a big difference. I read about half what I read last year, and again, that's just because this year I got more into podcasts, so less audiobooks. The ebook stayed the same. That's where I get most of my books from, so that tends to stay about the same. As far as the audience, read less children books, more middle grade books, about the same young adult, and way less adult books. Interesting. And then this year I started something new. I wanted to see how many newer release books I was reading versus backlist books. Books that were released in 2023 or 2024, I read 31 books. And books that were released in 2022 or earlier, I read 111. So obviously I tend to read more backlist books. Again, when I get my books from Libby, the newer release ones tend to have to be put on hold, which is fine. That's fine. I don't mind waiting for a book. It's not often that, or really never, that I'm like, this is a book I have to read immediately. Let me go run to a bookstore and get it. I can wait. It's fine. But yeah, that was my 2024 stats and how they compare to 2023. It's interesting to look back and say, okay, I read more physical books this year and I think this is why. And I read less audiobooks this year and I think this is why. And how did that impact my reading? Like, because I read less audiobooks, I read less books overall because I wasn't listening to them in the car. So that impacted like my total number of books read. It's just interesting to keep a log, see how things compare year from year. Last year was my very first year doing a reading log. So this is the first year I'm able to compare stats, but I got this idea from Gabby Reads and I'll see if I can post her video below. Love Gabby Reads. If you haven't checked her out, go check her out. I'm gonna do a quick speed run of the books that I read in December. So I'm Not Dying With You Tonight by Kim Jones and Gilly Segal. I rated 3 stars and it was interesting seeing a different perspective. I enjoyed that. It was kind of eye-opening in some regards. I gave it a 3-star because it wasn't as apocalyptic, horrifying as I was thinking it was going to be. But yeah, as far as it actually giving you food for thought, yeah, definitely a good book to check out. Skeleton Crew by Stephen King. It is so hard to rate a short story compilation because, you know, some books are like 5 stars, like this one had The Mist, and some books or some stories are duds and just don't do it for you. So, but overall, I gave the book a 4-star. I mean, it's Stephen King. Really can't go wrong with it. The Last White Rose by Alison Ware. Over the past year or so, I've become a huge fan of Alison Ware and the Tudor England historical fiction world. Like, I am here for it. So gave that one a 5-star. That one is about Elizabeth of York, who was the daughter of Edward IV and became the wife of Henry VII and the mom of Henry VIII. So that was interesting seeing her life lived out. Paper Valentine by Brene Jovanoff. I gave a 4-star. It was a dark, gritty noir thriller from a YA perspective. Very unique perspective. For some reason, I kind of pictured it as a more gothic historical fiction thriller, but it wasn't. It was a modern setting, so kind of odd, but it was good. The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell, I gave 4 stars. That one is a gothic historical fiction thriller / horror. I had to go look up what the Dutch Silent Companions are, like what they actually looked like. Oh my god, they are horrifying. So having this picture in my mind of what they looked like as I was reading the book, creepy. If you have not read that book and you like gothic horror, oh, give that book a try. It is stellar. Then I read A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. You know, it's 'tis the season, had to do it. 4 stars. It's a magical reread that, you know, you have to reread every year. Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle, I gave 3 stars. I liked the premise of the religious cult having a gay conversion camp, doing bad things with it, and not that anything good ever goes on at those. It kind of veered into not necessarily science fiction-esque, just more like demons, but not like horror demons, almost like a monster, like from science fiction or something like that. Like, that's just the vibe I was getting, and I was wanting more like psychological horror or thriller. So it was good, it just didn't give me what I was wanting from it. Ghost 19 by Simone St. James, I rated 3 stars. I do like me some Simone St. James. There are some books of hers that I like more versus other ones. This is one that, it was interesting, it was good. It was really short, it's 111 pages. It just wasn't great. It just wasn't great. And then Innocent Traitor, another Alison Ware book, I gave 4 stars. This one is about the story of Jane Grey. It's told from varying perspectives of Jane Grey, her mother, Queen Catherine Parr, a whole lot of different points of views, which I haven't really seen before in any Alison Ware books, so that was new to me. I'm not sure that I love that style, but love Alison Ware anyway. I'm here for some Tudor England historical fiction. So that was my December wrap up and my 2024 reading year wrap up and stats and comparing them to 2023. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this interesting. Be on the lookout for my video about making my 2025 reading log. I'm very excited about that. Let me know if you kept track of what you read in 2024 and if you kept track of any stats and if you learned anything from them. I just find it all so interesting to see. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.